It's amazing. Honestly, I did not expect like Narcos Mexico to be this good.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chaotic Angels with Shotguns. I am Allie,
And I am Casey.
and we are back to talk about more TV shows, more movies, and we want you to join us to talk about your favorite movies or your least favorite movies and TV shows. And let's begin with tonight's topic. What's our topic, Casey?
We're gonna talk about our beloved show Narcos and Narcos Mexico, which is easily one of like two of the best TV shows I've ever seen this
Yeah.
year. So good.
Yeah. So basically, we decided that we should talk about these shows because they're so well written, like they have all this historical stuff about them. So before we start, I wanted to begin with our little disclaimer because we realized that talking about, drug trafficking and everything is very problematic and it can be very controversial. But we're here to talk exclusively, about the show, about the writing, about the historical facts of the show. So we're not going to, our opinions are going to be based exclusively on how they told the story and not the real people that they tell the story about. So if you hear us talk about like men and stuff that appear on the show, it's exclusively about the actors and the writing, and it's not about all the problematic stuff that comes with drug trafficking and everything that resulted from that in Latin America.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot. I learned a lot about it. A lot about Latin American history, especially with this, whole thing, and especially about Mexico. I didn't know many of these things until I watched the show, and then I watched a few documentaries about it, which because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I'm probably gonna watch some documentaries and get the full, the full scope. And I did do that, and I learned a lot. Um, and I learned that the show is a little, um, it's not as long as the history of this. It's not as long, but it's very informative. I learned a lot, honestly.
Yeah, definitely me being on this side of America, I've been a lot closer to the news and what's happened with drug traffickers, like the most famous ones. So yeah, I feel like the show was written in a very informative way. Like the writers did not let themselves get carried away with making a show and making it, ridiculously fake. They kind of stuck to the fact, like that's what I really appreciate about the show. And obviously we're here because we were very drawn to the casting of this show, like I mean, the writing is amazing, and we'll talk about that. But I think that Casey and I were both very drawn to the casting of the show because it was brilliant, honestly. Aside from the actors being, attractive, because we agreed on that, they're very good actors. So, Casey, what do you have to say about that?
Well, firstly, Diego Luna, this man, the acting of this man, it was so good as Miguel Felix Gallardo. I don't know if I'm saying these right, by the way.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you. But honestly, his acting is extremely amazing. Like this man is so good at doing what he does, and also portraying that character. I learned in an interview that he refused to talk to the real Miguel Felix Gallardo because he was like, I'm not gonna be.
Yeah, he was very scared. He said that out loud, like he was scared to see him.
Yeah. I mean, I would be too, honestly. But like, I think that it's not the same as playing, Pablo Escobar since he already died. But like that whole thing is just so like so intense. Like the intensity of playing a drug dealer that was so big, you know. It's just so wild, and the man did extremely well. You know, apart from being extremely hot, this man portrayed it so well, and you know, I loved it. I loved it so much, and also the other characters um, that play different, different parts of the family. A lot of them, but they're so good. Like the acting is amazing. Like the guy who plays El Chapo, that dude is just so good. And I did not know that El Chapo's name was like Joaquin. I was like, what? But I learned a lot, really. And the parts of like the most intensity that I've ever like it's like I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say this, but I forgot her name, but that one woman, she got married and then her husband died, like season three.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was from the family Ariano Felix. Yeah, it was very intense.
Oh my god, it was so intense, and the way that she acted, the way that she portrayed that, it was so good. Like she was like crying and wanting El Chapo's head was amazing, and also her brothers, Ramon, the acting is so good.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like the whole show is a great combination of like writing, excellent writing and excellent acting. I mean, if one of them was missing, um, it wouldn't work because as I was telling Casey, on this side of America, we watch a lot of we call them narco series, like narco shows, but they're very bad. I mean, because they make the mistake of telling these stories as if they are fake, as if they are novels, so they romanticize all the damage that these people made. So that's the beauty of Narcos and Narcos Mexico because it's like they just dedicate themselves to tell the story and the acting. I mean, like um I don't remember when I started like getting interested in Diego Luna. I think that it was when I watched an old movie of his. So when I got to watch the show, I was like so impressed. Like he he just disappeared into this character, like because Diego Luna is like the total opposite of that. Like he's like the sweetest man in the world, So he disappeared into this character totally, and he understood the role very well. Even if, as you said, he couldn't talk to Felix, he was like, like so into the character, and so I mean, he disappeared into it basically, and every single actor, I think that it's, that they made an amazing job there.
I definitely enjoyed this, Narcos Mexico more than Narcos because, in Narcos it was politics, Pedro Pascal, this man did everything to just be so like, he's just so good. And I love that man so much. And, from The Mandalorian to other movies that he's done, I've watched like almost all of them, and it's just so good. This man is an extremely good actor, and he was in Game of Thrones. He was so good at it. But like seriously, it was just like the way that he portrayed that intensity was just so good, and the way that he played the character was very, very good. Javier Pena was amazing, and he also met the real Javier Pena, which is amazing. And I watched their TED Talks. I listened to it. It's like 1 hour, but it's just so much story and so much stuff, and all of it was just kind of portrayed in Narcos. But yeah, the history and the story of Pablo Escobar and how he kind of just became this huge drug dealer, and the parts of his family and stuff like that. It was just super, and the way that he changed throughout. Like at first he was just like, I felt I felt like he was a little bit like money greedy person. And then later, like he burned like 2 million or something dollars of his own money to keep his family warm. I was like, what? And like it was so weird. And the fact that he buried his money all over Colombia, just it makes me shook. This man made a lot of money, enough to bury it.
I think that to this date, I think that they're still looking for like money and stuff that he had, that he hid all over the place. And now that you say that about Pablo Escobar, is that I like how they contrasted that, that character, or in this case that person, with who Miguel Angel was, because it's like sometimes it's sad how people that are so smart end up doing those kinds of things, because mainly, like the reason why Felix had so much success, it's because he was so smart. Like, he was not in there like necessarily for the money, which obviously was a big reason, but he was like so smart, like the way he built, I mean, as he said, an empire, and he just organized a whole country to like deal with marijuana. It's like, it's so, I mean, it's amazing how people achieve that. And it makes you wonder, like, if these people were on the right side of things, like what would they be, capable of achieving, really, like he was like so drawn to, protect his family and everything, and he was like so smart doing everything. And if we think about it, I mean, everything was ruined because of his, because of his employees, not because of him, like. So it's like very frustrating to see that as well, like he was like trying to protect things and to stay out of trouble with, with cops and everything, and then these people just ruined everything for him.
Yeah. Um, and he, like I didn't know that he was that bad. I felt so bad for all the people that he killed, and like, he put a
Hmm.
bomb on that plane. Like, oh my god! And then he bombed like a bunch of other places. It was like, I was like so sad. And also in like the drug dealers that were like also involved with Mexico as well, because later like um Miguel Felix started to deal cocaine instead of marijuana. Like he made that switch and he became more greedy for money, eventually just losing everything, his wife, his children, everything else, just lost it because of this greed that he had. um the whole character arc, the whole like, um, obviously this is a real person, but like the things that this real person actually went through, seeing it in a TV show is just like, oh my god, and you're like at the edge of your seat just watching it because you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And the cops that were involved with it, the like so many people were just involved in it, and like you never guessed that they would be. It's just so crazy. Um and also like Amato, um like towards season 3, like at the end of season 3, they're like, did he die or did he not die? Like I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, because about that thing about the last part of season 3, um that the theory that goes around is that he actually did not die, and that he changed his face. I mean, that he didn't die, like trying to change his face, but he achieved that. And that's why the doctors, I mean, he got the doctors killed and everything. So the theory is that he's not dead. Well, it was a long ago, but that he didn't die when they said he did. But but because his face was literally everywhere, he changed it and he went off to Chile, which and he lived there, But it's like, I mean, the whole, as you said, I mean, these are real people, and it's like, as you said, it's mind blowing to see like such smart people and such, strategic people become greedy and just like lose their minds over money, over things, and it gets really violent, because I feel like at the beginning, Miguel Angel wasn't trying to be like violent. He tried to stay out of that area, but as I said, his employees drew him to become like more violent, to kill more people. And like then it just got worse, it's, I mean, what I think that draws us to this show is that like I mean, everything just gets worse, like with time. It's just like they always try to fix things and they can't. So it's like that evolution of how things started and how it got messed up. It's like a very, I mean, I think that what makes the show like that is, the writing, because it's like they always keep you wondering, like, okay, they killed this guy, what's gonna happen next? Because like on season 1 of Narcos Mexico, it all began because they kidnapped a DEA agent. So it's like it begins with that. So from the beginning, you're just so interested. It's like, why did they kidnap this guy? Like, and then you get to know the rest of the characters, and the story, and it's just the chronological. Yeah, I mean, it's like really sad, honestly, because you see these guys that were just minding their own business, and then they're drawn into this world that's so dangerous, and it's like, why did they do that? Like, how did they get trapped into that?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Also another thing that I learned, um, is kind of like a trigger warning, I guess. Remember that cop who went after that woman that was missing?
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
I did not know that millions of Mexican women were literally killed, like on the side of the like. It had me like it was mind blowing how many of these women were literally killed because like they were walking down the road and then some guy like asked them to like you know join in their car or something, and then they thought they were going home, but the guy murdered them after he raped them, which is freaking so disgusting. And I did not know that this happened, and it kind of like shone like a light on it, um, because these things are unknown. Like I did not know this, and now that I know it, I'm like, oh my god, that's scary. Like, and the way that he died later, by his best friend, I was like, oh my god. And the whole like the fact that he tried to find this woman, the fact that he like went out of his way to like find her, I was like, wow, this man is a freaking hero. Like he literally went out of his way to find it, even though it was dangerous. He was like, I don't care, I'm gonna find it. He found the grave of like millions of women that died. I was like, wow. Like apparently so many women in Mexico die all the time. Like I couldn't even comprehend that. Like that's just so scary. Like it made me scared. Like for these women that were just walking down the road and just minding their own business, and it gets scary. And also the FBI, the CIA agent, or it was tortured literally. I was like, oh my god. Like I mean, cartel tortures, I did not know that they were this bad, but I did not know that they were this bad.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that part of that storyline of that cop that was investigating female murders, it's really sad to hear you say that you were so shook, because I wasn't. And I'm gonna put some context on that, because sadly that's horribly common in Latin America. So when I saw that storyline, I wasn't even surprised. I was like, yeah, right, that happened, and that happens here as well. So it's, I mean, as you said, it's like such a good show to watch because it gives you so much history and so much context because you didn't know that happened, you know. I mean, I knew that, and obviously I appreciated how they wrote it so respectfully, you know, but it's also an informative show. Like, you didn't know that at all, you know, and it's like, and now you're like in a whole other context. And as you said, he was a hero, and I don't know, I really don't know if this guy was real life, you know, like a real life guy, or they just wrote him into the story like that. But definitely it was a very nice addition to season 3 of Narcos because he was like, he didn't sleep, he didn't eat, he didn't even spend time with his wife because he was like so focused on investigating what was happening to these women. and and it was a very beautiful storyline, I think. And eventually it showed that he, because he was, you know, he was fired from his job, and it was a big time of recession for Mexico. He he eventually had to get into, you know, the drug trafficking world. And that's so sad, you know, because it's like he didn't want to, but he needed that because he didn't have a job, you know. And that's why he got killed. And it's like, it was a very sad story. I was like very shook when they killed him off. But as I said, it's like it depends on what, I mean, what perspective you look at it from, you know, because I was like, I was saddened about the things with these women, but I knew. So I was like, yeah, yeah, that happened, and that happened for some years here too. And it's like very sad, but very nice to see shows like this portrayed like that, you know, like it was a very rewarding thing to see.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. And I saw a documentary about the guy who plays him, you know, the guy who plays Victor. Like, it was not a documentary, but it was like a video about Narcos Mexico, like the third season. And apparently this man was real. Yeah, he went out of his way to do this. And the actor who played him said, yeah, this really does happen. Like, a lot of women literally die. Like, and also, like, in Turkey, you know, where I'm from, a lot of women die from domestic abuse. Literally, you know, a lot of men are very violent towards their girlfriends or wives or whatever. Of course, this happens in every single country, unfortunately. But in Turkey, it's like the idea of a macho man, you know, like, oh, I'm macho, I can do whatever the hell I want, like I can hit my woman, whatever. But it's like so disgusting. Like, it doesn't, you know, this it's not even needed, you know. And my aunt was a victim of that for such a long time, you know. And like, it makes me so sad to see that this, you know, the killing and murder of a woman or rape of a woman is happening in Mexico or any other place. Like, it's just terrible. Like, you know, it probably happens in Colombia or like Chile or Brazil or whatever, but it's just really, really sad. And I'm glad that they shone like a light on it. You know, like, I didn't realize that this really did happen. And also, like, the cops being paid off by the drug dealers. Apparently, this happened a lot, and I was like, whoa! Like, you can literally pay a police officer to be like, here you go, I'm gonna transfer my cocaine now. It's like, what? And like imagine a time when cocaine was like legal, you know, like when cocaine was used for everything, like a headache, whatever, and then it became illegal because, bitch, it's gonna kill you. So like, I mean, the fact that this happens, you know, like the whole like putting it in trucks, not even trying to hide it, just moving it across, you know, whatever. And I did not know any of these things, you know, like what Pablo Escobar did, how to hide his cocaine, or like money laundering, things like this. Apparently, the first money laundering was started by Al Capone, and he kind of just did it first. And I was like, what? And then I learned this from Breaking Bad, by the way. Like, Breaking Bad kind of like went over it, but like, I did not know that money laundering was like a literal thing after I watched the documentary on it, Dirty Money. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically about that. And I did not know any of these things. And the fact that this happened, and the fact that he transferred his cocaine from Colombia or Mexico to like Miami and like Los Angeles, whatever. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think that the biggest, like the biggest shock for probably the audience in the United States, or countries like that, is that, that people did not realize how bad corruption was. Like it's you don't expect that, like because I mean from my country we see the United States. I mean, of course, every country has its flaws, but we see the United States as a country where, justice is made more regularly than here. Like, it's like corruption and all of those things are more controlled there than here. Because I was like, when I was watching it, I remember that we were with my mom and we go like, it's so embarrassing because Guatemala is mentioned in the show, and it's like at that time the army was like controlling that, and the army was being, handed money or handed cocaine for that matter to pass through, and it turns out that years later the head of the army from that time became our president. So you can imagine, like, yeah, yeah, I know. He became our president, and it's like he for years he was getting money from drug trafficking and everything, and then we just decided that he can rule our country, and it's like, how did we let that happen, and what type of people have control over our countries really, because it's like we never know who is behind the curtain. We just know who is up front, like what happened with Mexico and the PRI. And it's like, as you said, for you it was like a complete shock, but to me, this guy was a president like 8 years ago. So it's like, yeah, I mean, we weren't that surprised to see it, but we were very embarrassed for our country to be like that. So it's like we go back to the same thing, like the show is very accurate, historically. They did their homework, like they did the job. They sat down and wrote this down like accurately and appropriately for everyone to understand it, because you understood it from where you were sitting, and I understood it because I kind of knew what was going on.
And the fact that they put like Bad Bunny in it. I mean, he's from Puerto Rico apparently, not even from Mexico. But like playing a character like in the show was so weird to see him there. But still, his acting was really good. I did not expect this from Bad Bunny at all.
Same, yeah. I mean, I was like, he should dedicate himself to acting better, because it was like a good addition, I was like very skeptical at first because I was like, what's this guy doing here, But he did a very good job. He was a very good actor.
Yeah, I did not realize that. I was like, what? And after that, I started listening to his music. Like people like in high school, I had a lot of Mexican friends, a lot of them, like too much of it. But like, and they spoke Spanish among themselves, and then after a while, I just picked up on Spanish. I understood it. I understood what they were saying, but could not speak it. So after watching like Narcos and Narcos Mexico, like hearing all the Spanish, I was at the bus stop waiting for the bus. This man came up to me, started speaking Spanish. I was like, I think he was asking for the bus. He was like, "Where is the bus?" in Spanish. I understood it, and he was like, "Do you speak Spanish?" I was like, "No." And then he started speaking to me, and I was like, "The bus went that way," and he was like, "You're so shocked that I understood him because of this, like because of the show, like or because of my friends. I just became like." I started understanding Spanish for some reason. Like it just kind of happened. Like I don't know how to speak it, but I damn sure understand it.
It's a very weird language, Spanish, because I'm so glad that Spanish is my first language because honestly, it's a very hard language to learn. Like it's very complicated. It has a lot of stuff that, yeah, it's a mess, like so it's even that, like they make uh you watched Narcos like in Spanish basically, like you listen to all this Spanish and all these accents, because there are like 1,000 accents just in Mexico. I mean, here in Guatemala we don't have that much variation, but in Mexico you have like, I don't know, a million accents, and it's just so. I mean, none of the actors are from the regions that they portray, but I mean, their accents are so good. I mean, back to Diego Luna, he was like, his accent was amazing, and also Bad Bunny had to take off his Puerto Rican accent because he had to speak, like a Mexican. I was really triggered in season 3 with all these, the juniors that they call them, because they were kids, they were like 15, 16 years old, and I was like, are parents really that negligent, because they were rich parents and they were just letting their kids, wander around and deal with drugs, and it was like I was very shook by that storyline as well.
Yeah, honestly, like, with Narcos season, the season 2 and 3, the way that they use little kids and they gave them like guns and shit, I was like, questionable. The fact that he like pointed a gun at like, Javier Pena or anybody else, I was like, you're a little child. And honestly, like it had me, it didn't make me terrified enough, because in Turkey, okay, in Turkey, you can see little kids like smoking a cigarette like on the street. Like they just be there like smoking a cigarette, even though like they're like 6 years old. Like they can just be, you know, or 12 years old or whatever. They could just be smoking a cigarette. And that's just like so, it makes me so sad. The fact that parents decide to give their kids cigarettes, or they smoke in the house and then the kids see it and then they do it. And it's like, I mean, smoking is your choice, but doing it as, being 12 years old and smoking. I saw a lot of people like doing drugs or anything like that, but you know, people that are 12 years old, it has me, shook. Like it really does. Like the gun stuff, the amount of things that they're exposed to. They're killing people. I'm like, you're a child.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the worst part. I mean that uh, it was like, I mean, I have always, personally, I've always been like really shielded by my family, like I feel like I haven't been exposed to anything really. So to me, it's like very surprising to see parents just like, parents not calling at 9 p.m. Hey, where are you? And parents weren't even doing that, and their kids were like 15. So it was like really sad, in the end. It was like really sad to see these kids do whatever they wanted. And because this guy that was finally taken by the Mexican army, what was his name? Alex, do you remember him? He was a kid and he was like kidnapped by the army, and his parents didn't even know that. I mean, like, how did that, and then he was killed, and it's like their parents didn't even know that at the beginning. It's like, what kind of parents were they? It's like it's such a dark world, that of drug trafficking, because I mean, at the beginning, these guys were mainly focused on that, on just drug trafficking, and that was it. But then, we got with all this violence and this, what we saw of, the bodies being hung from, like I had forgotten about that. There was a time when we heard a lot about that, and I was like, when I remember that, I was like, I had blocked that out of my mind, because it's like so triggering. Like, you're driving your car and then you see like a body hanging from from like a post, and it's like they became, eventually they became like psychopaths, like just killing people and not and torturing them, it's like
Yeah. Like the story with Los Pepes and the story with the other, I was like, Los Pepes were so violent. Like they lived in the jungle, they came out of the freaking woodwork and they literally started hanging people. Or like they would do this like it was so disturbing. Like it was like the way that they played with the body and the way that they like positioned it. I was like, what? Like why? Like why would you play with a dead body? They're already dead. Like
it's something that we don't even, like we cannot even process, like how did they do that, and we were talking, uh, how problematic is it that they, for this, historical serious show, they had to pick like such hot actors. Like, why would they do that? It's like a big problem because you're obviously very focused on it being that a historical show about real people, and you're like, these people are messed up and everything, but it's so inevitable to see that the actors are so hot, and it's like, why did they do that? Like, it's not fair, it's not fair.
I could list 5 of them that are so fine that I'm like, you're a drug dealer. You know, you're playing a drug dealer. Like I'm trying to like get that like image in my head, but it just doesn't work because they're so damn fine.
Yeah, I think that what the problem is that the real guys did not look like that. If you see the show, they use the real pictures of the guys for, the wanted posters and stuff, and it's like, bro, he did not look like that. Like Miguel Angel did not look like that, and Amado did not look like that. So it's a very problematic choice, and I feel like, I don't know if it was on purpose, because it's like, as you said, like 5, 6 guys that were like, dude, like, and after you said about Ramon, at first I didn't, but then I started watching it and I was like, bro,
Who are you, boy? It went from like it changed my whole perspective of this man. Like at first I was like, okay, this dude is a freaking he's a drug dealer. Just get it in your head. And then I also Ramon and his brother, man,
Benjamin was his name.
him and their sister Anita. I was like, bitch, that woman is fine. And like it's like oh they're just so hot. They're hot. They're all of them are hot. Like I just can't even deal. And apparently that woman Anita is still on the run. That's what I heard. That's what I read. The fact that she escaped all of this and is still running. I'm like, wow. And the guy who plays Amado.
Sis, I mean,
Sis!
I mean, I mean, like, it was, yeah, I mean, it's a very problematic choice, for people like us that are naturally driven to watch shows with attractive men and women, because it's like, these people are so messed up that, like, why did they choose these actors, because it's like, and I mean, I watched season 1 and 2 of Narcos Mexico a while ago. It was like, I think that when COVID started, it was like 2020, season 1 and 2. And now I watched season 3, for the episode. And then I went back and watched a couple of the first episodes, and Ramon looks so different. I mean, I even forgot about him because he looks like a different dude. Because it's like, what happened?
He went from like baby to daddy in like 3 seconds. And um as I was watching it, I was like, okay, Diego Luna's in this. This dude is hella fine. Like he what? And then like later on when like he went to prison and he grew that beard, I was like, what? Like the fact that like all these attractive men playing this show, like you don't want to be attracted to that, but you are. Like like you're like, okay, they're like drug dealers, like this is a show about drugs. And then you're like, okay, but they're hot. you know, and like and that was like the first time that I had seen Bad Bunny, you know, like as like a full like person acting, and I was like, okay, this man is hella fine. What? Like, and then later I learned that he was a little controversial apparently, like his lyrics were on.
Yeah. Yeah, they really are. I mean, it's like very sexist and,
And because I don't understand Spanish that well. Okay, like I'm not freaking like 10 out of 10 of understanding Spanish.
and if you don't understand full Spanish, it's harder for you because Bad Bunny, I mean, he sings very weirdly. So even we don't understand everything that he says. So don't feel bad about that because it's really hard to understand him.
I'm fine with that, but like the songs are just bangers. Like I'm just like, wow, this is really good. Like especially I listened to like maybe 4 or 5 of them, the ones that he made with Daddy Yankee. I mean, they're bangers. Like they're really good. Like I loved it, and like, but the songs that they played in Narcos Mexico, I was like, do people actually listen to this? And then I searched it up, and apparently they're like really old, and like if there was like grandmas listening to them, I'm like, but they're really catchy. Like they're catchy. Like that's just how it is.
The soundtrack of the show is amazing, they use like a variety of genres for it, and it's like it fits very well.
It's so good, and and like the music choice, the fact that they filmed all of it in Colombia or Mexico, I'm like, wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very well directed show. I mean, I feel like the whole series is a combination of those things because I was watching a specific scene in season 3 where like it usually happens on the show. They were having a gunfight between two cartels, and it was so beautifully directed. I mean, I know that right now it's problematic to have guns on set, especially with what happened with Alec Baldwin. But I mean, leaving that aside, it was a very well directed scene. One with it was Benjamin's birthday. I don't know if you remember that scene with the colors and the blue and pink. I don't know, it had such beautiful colors and the music. And it's like, yeah, and it's when they kill this girl's husband, and Edina's husband. It's like a very well directed show. The whole show, it's like, the landscapes and the choice of, you know, I don't know, the choice that they make to direct these people to make them look good. It's like so insane. I mean, because as you said, it's like we don't want to like them, but they're such smart people. Like they write them so smart and so, like if these people got to do good things, I mean, they would be like, I don't know, on top of the world, because eventually they got blinded by money and stuff, but they were like, I mean, it was really hard to dislike, for example, Miguel Angel, and not just because of Diego Luna, obviously, because honestly, at the beginning, he was just minding his own business with his pot, and then it became a shit show. But it was like really hard to dislike him, and I think that's how this guy really was. But it's a very conflicting show. I mean, that's like the consensus for this.
Yeah, and the whole love story with Rafa and that other girl, the fact that he was in love, I was like, that's not even what love is, boy. And like, and when they started talking about Bonnie and Clyde, but when they compared themselves to Bonnie and Clyde, I was like, this is the most cringy ass shit I've ever seen. Like I did not like this, and like, and the love between them was so stupid.
I know, like, I mean, like, what was up with this rich girl that had everything, and and then wanted to get involved with this guy, and it wasn't even love. I mean, because they didn't even know each other. I mean, they just saw each other like once, and then they started, like sleeping together, and it's like, what's this about? Yeah, it was a very cringy thing, but I think that that was a point, because this guy Rafa, he he had nothing, basically before, and when he saw himself with money, he thought that that gave him power, and it's like he kidnapped the daughter of a minister. It's like this guy is so stupid, and that's when like he ruined everything, but and it was like a very weird storyline to give him a girlfriend like that. Like he was like, oh, I'm so in love, and they were like, no bro, you're not in love. Like, like it was different for Miguel Angel because he had a wife before that, he had kids and stuff, it was like more realistic. But with Rafa, I was so annoyed at this guy all the time, and like, I mean, he was like so stupid, and it's like, boy, you ruined everything. You were doing so well. I really enjoyed the way that they narrate the show. Um, it was amazing, with this DEA guy. I love him, by the way. Oh my god, Walt is like God. I love Walt.
Love him.
Yeah, I mean, like Walt was like the actor. I mean, hella fine, and then like the way he portrayed this really frustrated DEA agent, and the way he narrated everything, like, I'm so done with these people. Like, it was amazing. I mean, I feel like I feel like that's what made the show serious, having this guy narrate it. Because if they had Miguel Angel narrate it, it wouldn't have been good. I mean, I think that the point was that the good guys were narrating and telling the story.
When and with Narcos, Pedro Pascal was narrating some of it, and the man's accent is out of the world, but so good. Like I love this man. But as you said, Walt, the guy who plays him, he played. I was watching another TV show, and he was in it. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called Godless. Oh my god, it's so good. It is so good. It is just, it's just so good. Like I would rewatch it again because it's that good. Like the TV show was only one season, but it's so freaking good. And the fact this man is so good at acting and what he does, like with the whole like pretending to be a customer and like pretending, and he's the DA agent. He's like literally just like pushing and pushing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is getting so good. And they chose amazing actors to play, in Narcos and Narcos Mexico. Honestly, like the guy who plays Pablo Escobar, amazing.
And he speaks like 7 languages, and yeah, I mean, because this guy, as I told you, there are other shows about the same um drug traffickers, but they're really bad. Bad acting, bad writing. But these guys, I mean, they really chose like the best people for these shows. It's like they took their job seriously. Because this guy, Walt, I mean, I really like that, as you said, he got better. His acting just he began, as a good actor, but he just like he was amazing in season 3. He was just insane, and I really like the story with his girlfriend. I was like so sad about that because he he loved her, and then he wanted to go with her, but he couldn't, and it's like such a heartbreaking story. And with that, we shouldn't feel bad about that because he was a good guy, so we can have good feelings about this guy. Like we are entitled to, because he's a good guy. But I feel like his acting just got like 1,000 times better in season 3.
The thing that had me like I also started laughing really hard after I said it. But like Pacho, the fact that he's gay and the fact that all these drug dealers support his gayness, it made me so I was like, what? You all are supporting gays? Hello. And like and the fact that Amado was like, I don't care that the fact that you're gay. I'm like, Amado, you're I don't know, like I was like, I stand you. And I started laughing super hard because this man's a literal drug dealer. I'm over here like supporting it, but like the fact that they didn't care, the fact that because he was gay, I thought that they would.
Because first of all, because of the time, it was the 90s still, so it was a lot of controversy about gay men especially, and these guys were, like the portrayal of machos, like guns and fights and everything. And as you said, it's like then they were like, yeah, we're good that you're gay. And I was like I was like very impressed with that. I was like, did these guys really act like that, or was it just written into the show? Because it's like they were so supportive, and I was like, okay, they're supportive, they're good with that. And then he goes and retires and everything, and it's like, okay. But I feel like even that the show did well, like even the small things, like this guy was gay and they didn't make a fuss about it. It's like, okay, because a lot of shows they make a big fuss when the character comes out, and it's like, why did they do that? But this time, I mean, they even did that well. It's like the show is nearly perfect. It's like it has everything.
It's amazing. Honestly, I did not expect like Narcos Mexico to be this good. Like when I started watching it, um, and I realized that Amano was a very smart man when I started watching it because he not only like he didn't put himself in the spotlight, number one, and then number two, he wasn't that greedy, and then number three, like he had a wife and daughter that he buried. I was like, oh my god, I feel so sad for him. Then he found a girlfriend and from Cuba, and then he told her to go to like Chile, and the fact that he faked his death just to be with her to get away from everything else, I was like, wow, this man is great. Like,
Among everything that was happening, because a lot of a lot of new traffickers came into the picture, and these guys were problematic because these guys were like killing people and making a mess with everything. But Milo was like, I'm not dealing with that. And he was like, he stepped back from that. I don't know how accurate that was, from real life. But as you said, he had this daughter and this wife, and he was just trying to do things, as right as he could. And as you said, he was so smart, like he was the one who came up with the idea of the planes. That's why they gave him the nickname of El Señor de los Cielos, because he was the one with the planes. And he even knew how to fly a plane. I mean, like, he was like a very skilled and smart person, really. And and I think that it was a very endearing thing that they wrote with the girlfriend. I mean, like, I don't know if he actually got a girlfriend or that was just like put into that. But it was like, okay, I'm gonna retire because I really love this girl, and it was like a brilliant ending.
it really was. I really did enjoy it. The ending was really good, and the reporter,
Andrea?
freaking great, and like, and apparently it was a real deal, but the name was changed. And apparently, like there was a newspaper printing place that would just they didn't give a single fuck. Like they just like talked about whatever.
I mean, that was very common in Mexico that they killed journalists like that.
Yeah, and the fact that they killed that man, for speaking the truth, it's like wow.
For so many years, people wanted to believe in the government. You know what happened with the PRI? And there's also, I don't know if you remember that they mentioned this guy Colosio. There's a movie about him. It's insane. I mean, it's like the government killed every single person that didn't agree or that wanted to, like expose them. And you're like, can they do that? Just kill people? And they did. It's like it was it was so exactly it was ridiculous, and so many journalists died back then. And I mean, and as I said, it's the same here. I mean, Mexico and Guatemala are like so sadly similar, and the same thing happened here for some years with the army and everything they did. It's like they just kill people like that. And this woman was like so brave. I mean, I think that I've always wanted to be like kind of revolutionary, but I would have been really scared to do that. It's like this woman was just writing all these articles, and she wanted her name printed because the editor didn't. But she did. I mean, the whole show is like you're very trapped in like the crazy stories about the drug traffickers, and then you come back to reality because they're like, no, but these are the bad guys, and they remind you of that, like, no, but we're with the DEA, and we're with the journals, like it's that conscious. I feel like it keeps you confused.
Yeah, I mean, like the entirety of the show was like, oh my god, this happened for real. You know, like after viewing all of that, you're like, okay, this happened for real. Wow. But like meth drug dealers are more intense. That's what I felt. Because like the amount of intensity that like Gus Fring had, and the fact that this man made meth in his own like building. He was selling chicken but also making meth. Like he was nice to everybody. He would go to like police, whatever, and he would like do like charity or whatever. He was a nice guy. Nobody expected this man to be bad. But then later on, it's like he was a terrible person. Like
If you compare that guy, back to these drug traffickers from Latin America, you realize that they're very similar people. I mean, it's like they're so nice, as you say, like you don't expect these people to be like that, because from the beginning, with Miguel Angel, that we thought that he was going to die, because he was like taken in a car, and he was like, oh, they're gonna kill him, and then he shoots the other guy in the head, and it's like you don't expect that. It's like, as you say, it's like he was like so shy, like he didn't even want to talk and bring his ideas, and then he just shoots the guy, and it's like it's that, like weird personality. I mean, I bet there's a whole psychological thing behind it, that these guys are like so nice and so chill, and when they have to do something, they're like the coldest. They shift, like their personality from one second to the other.
I mean, the reality is these things happen. Like this is literally this is reality. Like this is it. Like you don't see this every day. Maybe some people do. If you live in these places or if you see the news or something like that. But like if you live it out and you see it, you're like, okay, like this is a level of intensity that these people face every single day. Like you can't walk down the street and be peaceful. Like it's just really, really scary, to imagine that. Like, imagine living in like Pablo Escobar's like time. Like I would not be able to step out of my house and be a normal person.
I mean, it's like, as you said, we cannot imagine because we haven't lived it. I mean, because I mean, like, I live in a Latin American country, but I mean, I've been lucky, I've been living in good places, like where these things don't happen. Because, like, as you said, I mean, if I lived in these little towns, with all these things happening at night, I mean, I wouldn't be able to step outside my house. It's like, I try to recommend it to my friends because it's so good, but people don't think that it is. People think that it's another one of those bad shows, and it's like, I don't want to watch another show about Narcos, and it's like, it's not like that, I swear. I was very skeptical about season 3 because it was not gonna be Felix anymore. And I honestly, that's why I delayed watching it so much. But I mean, season 3 is like so good. Just showing how these guys, like lost everything and just like became hopeless, and they were like, okay, we're done. We're like, we lost everything, we're done. And I mean, it's like we finally could see like them falling and losing everything, not just being on top of things. And as you were saying with Walt, that he was really good acting because the season 3 starts with this with him going to an AA meeting, and I really thought it was him going to an AA meeting, and then you realize that he's undercover, and then he does it again with another guy, and it's like he's acting good as acting in the show, and it's like it blew my mind, how he did that. The point is that I really enjoyed his acting, and the perspective that they gave to the show. But how about we wrap it up for now because we've been over like nearly an hour and a half, and we could do more. Like we could do a lot more time talking about this show and the actors. But we hope that we recommended yet another show, and there weren't really spoilers here because, as you said, it's like a historical thing. So eventually, you're gonna find out about everything. But we hope that this was another informative episode and that you bear with the chaos that comes with it because we're going to be this chaotic or worse in next episodes. So that was it for this episode. We are the Chaotic Angels with Shotguns. I am Allie.
I'm Casey.
And thank you for listening and for putting up with everything that we have to talk about.